Princess Lyra stood on the balcony of the royal palace, her gaze fixed on the glittering city of Zathera below. The city was alive with lights that shimmered like stars, reflecting off the crystal towers and floating gardens. Ships of various shapes and sizes glided through the air, leaving bright trails behind them. From up here, the world seemed beautiful, orderly. Combat Lyra knew that beneath this calm, danger always lurked. She smoothed her ceremonial robes and took a deep breath. Today was not just any day. It was the day she would meet representatives from several alien nations. This gathering could determine the alliances that would shape the galaxy's future. Her advisors had spoken at length about protocol, about appearances, and about how she must remain poised at all times. But Lyra's mind was elsewhere. A memory she thought long forgotten had surfaced. It was faint, hazy at first, a blur of fear, a scream, and a human figure shielding her from harm. She had been just a child then, no more than 8 years old. The memory had come back in flashes, a raiding party attacking her colony, fire spreading across the small settlement, and a brave human reaching her in the nick of time. She remembered his calm eyes, the way he had stood in front of her like a wall, protecting her. She had never known his name, only that he had saved her life. "Your Highness, an aide," called softly, pulling her back to the present. "The delegation has arrived. They are waiting in the main hall." Lyra nodded, forcing a smile. "Thank you. I will be there shortly." She turned and walked through the golden corridors of the palace. The walls were lined with holographic paintings, showing the history of Zitharagar great battles, heroic leaders, and moments of triumph. She felt the weight of her responsibilities as the princess. She was not only a figurehead. She was a protector of her people, a leader who had to think of the greater good. In the grand hall, the atmosphere was electric. Many star systems had gathered, each with their own colorful attire and strange, elegant forms. Some had multiple arms. Some glowed faintly, and others had wings that shimmered with every movement. Lyra greeted them politely, exchanging bows and nods, her voice steady even as her heart beat faster. She was about to move to her seat at the center of the hall when she saw him. He was standing at the edge of the room, observing quietly. At first, she thought it was a trick of her memory, a dream overlapping with reality. But then she saw his face, clearly strong features, dark hair, and eyes that held a calm intensity. It was him, the human who had saved her all those years ago. Lyra's breath caught. She froze. Her mind raced with disbelief and wonder. He looked older now, taller, more experienced, yet there was something familiar in the way he held himself. Quiet confidence, a readiness that reminded her of that long-ago moment. Ethan Cole had no idea who she was. He was a captain in the Earth peacekeeping fleet, sent here to observe and assist in maintaining order during the diplomatic gathering. He had seen many alien worlds, many rulers, but he had never expected to meet a princess like Lyra, and certainly not one whose eyes suddenly seemed to recognize him. For a long moment, neither moved. Lyra wanted to call out his name, to rush forward, but the weight of protocol and the eyes of countless dignitaries held her back. Ethan, sensing her hesitation, tilted his head slightly, his gaze curious but calm. He did not yet know the bond that tied them together. The memory came rushing back in full force. Lyra saw the attack on her childhood settlement clearly now, the fire, the screams, the chaos, and then the human's hands lifting her away from danger. She had clung to him, trembling, and he had carried her to safety without a word, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. She could feel her heart pounding. The princess, who commanded respect and admiration from thousands, now felt like the frightened child again. And yet there was a strange comfort in seeing him. Somehow seeing him meant she could survive anything. The moment was broken by the sudden arrival of the chief delegate from the neighboring system. "Princess Lyra, are you ready to begin the ceremony?" the alien asked, bowing politely. Lyra nodded, forcing herself to step forward. Her mind, however, remained partly with the human. She could not understand how fate had brought him here, to this moment. On this very day, the ceremony began with formal speeches, each delegate outlining their intentions, their desire for peace, and their hopes for interstellar cooperation. Lyra listened politely, But her attention kept drifting back to Ethan. She noticed the way he moved, careful, deliberate, and always scanning the environment. His instincts were sharp, just as she had remembered, and just as they had been when he saved her. After the ceremony, a smaller gathering was arranged for private discussions. Lyra and Ethan found themselves in a quiet chamber, away from the eyes of the dignitaries. "Princess Lyra," Ethan began, offering a respectful nod. "It's an honor to meet you." Lyra's voice caught slightly as she replied, "The honor is mine, Captain Cole." The name felt strange on her tongue. Thought she had only now discovered it. "Cole. You were the one," she stopped, unsure if she should reveal her memory. Ethan looked at her with curiosity. "The one... what?" Lyra hesitated, then decided to speak. "Years ago, you saved me." Ethan's brow furrowed. "Saved you?" "I'm afraid I don't understand, Princess." She explained briefly, recounting the events of her childhood as best she could remember. Ethan listened carefully, his expression changing from confusion to recognition. "It was me," he said finally, his voice calm but firm. "I remember the settlement. I remember the attack. You were very brave, holding on when everything was burning around you." Lyra felt a shiver run down her spine. I never forgot you," she admitted quietly. "Even when I became the princess, even when I had responsibilities, I thought of you." Ethan gave a small nod. "I saved many during that attack. I don't remember you specifically, but I'm glad I was able to help. I never expected to meet you here like this." The room seemed smaller suddenly, as if their shared memory had made the space more intimate. For the first time in her life as a ruler, Lyra felt like a normal person, someone who could be vulnerable, someone who could show her true emotions. Before they could continue talking, an alarm blared throughout the palace. Red lights flashed along the corridors, and distant voices shouted warnings. Lyra's heart skipped a beat. Danger was near. Ethan's instincts kicked in immediately. "Stay close to me," he said, moving to position himself between her and the door. "I don't know what's happening, but we need to get to safety." Lyra nodded, her earlier fear replaced by a surge of trust. She had been a princess for years, accustomed to commanding armies and making decisions, but now she relied on him. The human who had saved her as a child was still her protector. They moved swiftly through hidden passages, corridors that only the royal family and select staff knew about. As they ran, Lyra noticed that Ethan was observing everything: shadows, sounds, movements, his senses sharp and alert. It reminded her of that day long ago, when he had noticed danger before she could even react. They reached a small chamber that overlooked the city's edge. Outside, the floating gardens shimmered in the night, and ships moved like fireflies across the sky. For a moment, they caught their breath. "Do you always operate alone like this?" Lyra asked, curiosity mixed with admiration. "Not always," Ethan replied. "But I trust my instincts. And sometimes, the best way to protect someone is to stay one step ahead of the danger." Lyra's gaze softened. "You haven't changed. I remember you exactly like this. Calm, focused, unshakable." Ethan looked at her, his expression unreadable. "And you've grown into someone far stronger than that frightened child I saved. You've become a leader, a princess worthy of your people." Lyra smiled faintly, feeling a mixture of gratitude and wonder. It was strange to see the human she had admired as a child now standing before her as a man she could respect, even rely upon. But even as they shared this quiet moment, danger still lurked in the shadows of Zathera. Neither of them could be sure how long the calm would last. Yet one thing was clear. Fate had brought them together once more, and this reunion would change both of their lives forever. Lyra realized that while she had once been saved by him, perhaps now she would stand beside him, facing the unknown together. And so, under the shimmering lights of Zathera, the princess and the human prepared for whatever challenges lay ahead. Unaware that the events of this night would test courage, loyalty, and the bond between two beings from different worlds. The red alarm lights flashed across the palace walls, casting long shadows that danced like phantoms in the corridors. Princess Lyra clutched the edge of a railing as she and Captain Ethan Cole moved quickly through the hidden passageways. Step echoed faintly, but Ethan's calm demeanor never wavered. His eyes scanned every corner, every shadow, alert to any hint of danger. "Do you know what's happening?" Lyra asked, her voice tight with tension. "I don't," Ethan replied, keeping his voice low. "But whoever triggered this alarm wants to catch you off guard. We have to stay ahead." Lyra's heart pounded, not from fear alone, but from a strange mix of awe and trust. This was the same human who had saved her as a child. Now, as an adult, he moved with precision and confidence that made her feel safe, even when the threat was unknown. They reached a junction where several hidden corridors met. Ethan paused, pressing his hand against the wall to activate a concealed panel. A section of the wall slid open silently, revealing a narrow stairwell that led downward into the palace's old defense tunnels. "This way," he said, motioning for Lyra to follow. The tunnels were dimly lit. The faint glow from the walls revealed the history of the palace's past. Old murals depicting great battles and legendary heroes lined the corridors. Lyra had walked these tunnels before as a child during drills, but now in the middle of a real crisis. Every detail seemed sharper, more meaningful. As they moved deeper, a distant sound echoed, a metallic clanging followed by hurried footsteps. Lyra stiffened. "We're coming," she whispered. Ethan's eyes narrowed. "Stay close. Keep moving." The first attackers appeared around a corner, masked figures armed with sleek energy weapons. Ethan reacted instantly, blocking the hallway with his body as he pushed Lyra behind him. A pulse of blue light shot past, narrowly missing her. Without hesitation, Ethan fired back, his aim precise. Two of the attackers collapsed and the others hesitated, startled by his skill. Lyra's eyes widened. She had seen warriors before, but humans rarely displayed this level of courage in alien combat situations. Ethan's movements were fluid, almost instinctive, like he had trained for this his entire life. And in truth, he had. "Run," Ethan shouted, and together they sprinted down the tunnels. The attackers followed, their weapons sparking and glowing as they fired. Lyra kept her focus on Ethan, her trust in him absolute. After several twists and turns, they arrived at a small chamber with a reinforced door. Ethan pressed a hidden panel. The door slid open to reveal an ancient maintenance shaft that led upward out of the tunnels. "Up here," he said. Motioning for her to climb, Lyra followed, feeling the weight of the situation, but also the thrill of survival. She realized that the fear she had felt as a child, the terror of being helpless, was replaced now by something stronger: determination. She would not be a victim again. As they climbed, Ethan glanced at her. "Do you remember the night I saved you?" he asked quietly, almost as if testing the waters. Lyra nodded. "I remember. I was so scared, and you just stood there protecting me. I didn't understand then why you risked your life." "I did what anyone would do," Ethan replied, his voice steady. "I saw someone in danger and I acted. You were brave too, holding on when everything was collapsing." Lyra felt a warmth in her chest. She realized that this moment, dangerous as it was also a reunion. It's a chance to connect with someone who had once been her savior and now could be her ally. Finally, they emerged from the maintenance shaft onto a balcony overlooking the palace gardens. The city lights shimmered below, but danger still lurked. They were not yet safe. The attackers had followed them, their silhouettes visible on nearby walkways. Ethan took a deep breath, assessing their options. "We need to reach the Skyway Gardens. There's a transport hub there where we can get off the palace grounds, but it won't be easy." Lyra nodded. "Then we make it easy together." Moved across the balcony, leaping from platform to platform, the night air rushing past them. Lyra's heart raced, but she felt exhilaration too. She had never moved like this in her life, and yet with Ethan by her side, she felt capable of anything. Halfway across, one of the attackers raised a weapon and fired. Ethan blocked Lyra instinctively, taking the blast to his side. She gasped. "Ethan." He gritted his teeth but remained steady. "I'm fine. Keep moving." Lyra realized that this human, who had once been her protector as a child, was still willing to risk everything to keep her safe. She felt a surge of admiration and perhaps something more, an unspoken bond that had begun decades ago, but now had a chance to grow. They reached the edge of the Skyway Gardens, a sprawling area filled with bioluminescent plants and floating platforms. Ships hovered nearby, ready to transport important personnel. Ethan scanned the area. "That one," he said, pointing to a small transport shuttle. "We can make it if we move fast." The attackers pursued them relentlessly. Ethan fired to keep them at bay while Lyra ran, her agility and determination surprising even herself. She leapt onto the shuttle just as Ethan pulled her aboard, sliding the door closed behind them. Inside the shuttle, Lyra finally allowed herself to breathe. Her chest heaved, her hands trembling slightly from adrenaline. Ethan checked the controls quickly, bringing the shuttle to life. The engines hummed and the vessel lifted off, gliding through the night sky. "You okay?" he asked, glancing at her. Lyra nodded, a smile breaking through her tension. "Thanks to you, I am. Always thanks to you." Ethan's expression softened, though his eyes remained alert. "We're not out of danger yet. I'll make sure you're safe no matter what." As they flew over the city, Lyra looked down at the glowing lights, at the palace that had been her home and fortress. She thought about her childhood, about the moment she had been saved, and about the strange twist of fate that had brought them together again. She realized that her life had always been intertwined with this human, even if she had not understood it until now. The shuttle landed at a secure location outside the palace perimeter. Ethan guided her out, scanning the area for any remaining threats. Once they were certain the attackers had been left behind, they moved toward a hidden vehicle that would take them deeper into the city's safe zones. During the ride, Lyra finally allowed herself to ask the question that had been on her mind since she saw him. "Why did you save me that night?" Ethan's eyes met hers. "Someone had to. I didn't think about reward or recognition. I just did what needed to be done. You were in danger and I couldn't let you die. That was enough." Lyra felt a lump in her throat. She'd always imagined answers, but hearing it from him, so simple and honest, made her realize how much courage humans could carry, how much selflessness they could display. "And now?" she asked softly. "Now, so many years later, why are you here?" "I'm here because I served the peacekeeping fleet," Ethan replied. "But now, I think fate has its own plans. I didn't expect to see you again, but I'm not letting anything happen to you, Princess." Lyra looked at him, a mixture of gratitude, admiration, and something she did not yet name. She knew that their journey together had only just begun. The attacks, the danger, and the threats to her life were far from over. But for the first time, she felt that she was not alone. She had a protector, a friend, and perhaps something more. The vehicle took them to a secure safe house, hidden within the city's outskirts. Inside, Lyra could finally remove the weight of her ceremonial robes and relax for a moment. Ethan checked the perimeter and secured the entrances, showing the same meticulous care that had saved her in the past. Once they were certain they were safe, Lyra turned to him. "Ethan, I don't know how to thank you. You've saved me twice now. Once as a child, and now. You don't need to thank me," he said. "Just stay alive, Princess. That's enough." Lyra smiled, feeling a mix of relief and determination. "Then I will. And I will fight alongside you if we face danger again." Ethan nodded, a rare smile appearing on his face. "That's all I ask." The night was quiet now, but Lyra knew that the danger was not gone. The attackers had been skilled, organized, and relentless. This was only the beginning of a larger plot, one that could threaten not only her life, but the peace of Zathera, and possibly other planets as well. Yet, for the first time in years, Lyra felt hope. She was no longer a helpless child. She was a princess, a leader, and now she had a human by her side who understood courage, loyalty, and sacrifice. Together they could face whatever came next. As the stars shimmered in the night sky, Lyra looked at Ethan and silently vowed to herself that she would never let fear control her again. She would meet the challenges ahead with strength, wisdom, and courage, and perhaps, just perhaps, with the man who had once saved her as a child, now walking beside her as an equal. The safe house was quiet, but the silence felt fragile, as though it could shatter at any second. Princess Lyra sat near the window, staring at the stars beyond the city's shield dome. She could not rest. Her mind kept replaying the events of the night, the masked attackers, the chase through the palace, Ethan's calm voice guiding her through danger. She felt both shaken and steadied, her fear balanced by a strange new sense of strength. Behind her, Ethan worked with quiet focus. He was at the control station of the safe house, scanning communications, intercepting signals, and searching for patterns. His hands moved swiftly over the console, his face calm but sharp with concentration. Finally, he spoke. The attack wasn't random. They were mercenaries hired by someone powerful. Their equipment is too advanced for a rogue band. Lyra turned from the window. So it wasn't just about me. Ethan shook his head. It was about destabilizing your world. If they had captured you, Zathera's leadership would collapse. The alliances you've been building would fall apart. Someone wanted chaos. Lyra's eyes narrowed. Do you know who? Not yet, Ethan replied. But I intercepted fragments of their communications. There's a name, the Veil. I think it's an underground network that's been working to weaken planetary governments across the galaxy. Lyra's heart tightened. If that's true, then my people are in greater danger than I thought. Ethan looked at her steadily. That's why we have to move fast. We can't just hide here. We need to strike back before they strike again. For a moment, Lyra simply watched him. She admired how calm he was in the face of crisis. As a leader, she had often felt the crushing weight of decisions, but Ethan carried himself with quiet certainty. He was not just a soldier. He was a man who had chosen to protect, no matter the cost. You speak like someone who has carried this fight before, she said softly. I have, Ethan admitted. Humans may not be the strongest or the most advanced in the galaxy, but we know how to fight when it matters. We don't back down, Lyra smiled faintly. I see that. You didn't back down when I was a child, and you don't now. Their eyes met, and for a moment the room seemed smaller, warmer. But before the silence could stretch, the safe house alarm buzzed softly. Ethan quickly checked the monitors. They've tracked us, he said. A strike team is on the way. Lyra stood quickly. Then we can't wait. We need to move against them now, before they trap us. Ethan studied her face and saw no fear there, only determination. He nodded. All right. Then let's turn this into a counterattack. The city of Zathera spread out below them as they left the safe house. Ethan guided Lyra through hidden pathways until they reached the outskirts, where industrial towers stretched into the sky like jagged spires. There, he explained the plan. The Veil's operatives are coordinating from a signal hub in the lower district. If we can reach it, we can shut down their network and expose their allies. Lyra studied the map he projected on a small handheld device. That hub is in one of the oldest districts. It's close to the sea cliffs. Ethan nodded. Which means difficult terrain, but also a chance for us to move unnoticed. As they made their way through the dim streets, Lyra felt a strange thrill. She was the princess of Zathera, yet tonight she was not sitting on a throne or speaking in council halls. She was out in the real world fighting for her people, side by side with a human who had once carried her through fire, at the base of the cliffs. The roar of waves echoed against the rocks. The hub was hidden in an old fortress that had long been abandoned. Shadows moved at the entrance guards, armed and alert. Ethan crouched low, motioning for Lyra to stay behind him. We'll have to be careful. I'll take the lead. But Lyra shook her head. No, I'm not the frightened child you saved years ago. I can fight too. Ethan looked at her for a long moment, then gave a small nod. All right, but stay close. They moved silently along the rocks, their figures blending into the night. Ethan struck first, disarming one of the guards with quick, efficient movements. Lyra used her knowledge of the fortress's old systems, activating hidden panels that created distractions. Together, they advanced deeper inside. The corridors were narrow, lit by flickering lights. Old symbols lined the walls, reminders of Zathera's past wars. Lyra felt the weight of history around her. This was where her ancestors had defended their people. And now, she was doing the same, only this time with a human at her side, at the central chamber. They found the hub, a large console surrounded by glowing screens and guarded by a group of mercenaries. At the head stood a tall alien with cold eyes. So, the leader sneered, the princess herself comes to us, and she brings a human. How amusing. Lyra stepped forward, her voice steady. You wanted to break Zathera? You will fail. My people stand strong, and I am not alone. Ethan raised his weapon calmly. You should have stayed in the shadows. Now everyone will know who you are. The battle erupted. Blaster fire lit up the chamber, echoing off the stone walls. Ethan fought with precision, every movement efficient and deliberate. Lyra, using a staff-like weapon from the fortress armory, defended herself with surprising skill. She struck one mercenary down, then blocked another's attack. Her training as royalty now tested in real combat. The leader lunged at her, but Ethan intercepted him, their weapons clashing in a spray of sparks. Lyra joined in, and together they overwhelmed him. With a final strike, the leader fell, and the chamber grew silent. Ethan moved quickly to the console. This is it. If we transmit the evidence of their communications, the entire network will be exposed. The galaxy will know the truth. Lyra stepped beside him, her hands steady as she placed her royal seal on the transmission. Then let it be done. Zythera will not fall to shadows. The signal burst across the skies, reaching star systems far beyond Zythera. Within minutes, Allied ships confirmed receipt. The Veil's plots were revealed, their secrecy broken. For the first time that night, Lyra allowed herself to breathe. She turned to Ethan, her eyes shining. We did it, gave a small smile. You did it. You stood strong. No, she said firmly. We did it together. Just like before. When they returned to the palace, dawn was breaking. The sky glowed with colors of gold and violet, and the city slowly stirred awake. The news had already spread. The princess had stood against the attackers, and the human captain had fought by her side in the great hall. The alien delegates who had fled the night before now returned, their faces filled with respect. One by one they pledged their support, strengthening the alliances that Lyra had worked so hard to build. Lyra stood tall before them, her voice carrying across the chamber. Zythera will never bow to fear. We stand united, and with the help of brave allies, we will protect the peace of this galaxy. Her people cheered, their voices rising in a chorus of hope. Later, when the hall was empty, Lyra walked with Ethan onto the palace balcony. The city stretched out below, alive with light and promise. She turned to him, her expression softer now. When I saw you again, she said quietly, I trembled. I thought I was dreaming, but it was real. You saved me then, and you saved me now. Ethan looked at her, his calm gaze steady. And you saved yourself, too. You're not that child anymore. You're stronger than anyone I've met. Lyra felt her heart stir with an emotion she could not quite name. Perhaps fate brought us together for a reason. Perhaps the galaxy needed us to meet again. Maybe, Ethan said. Or maybe you were always meant to stand strong, and I was just there to remind you. They stood in silence for a moment, the wind carrying the scent of the gardens below. Lyra looked at him with gratitude, admiration, and a quiet certainty that their bond was not finished. You know, she said softly, in every story my people tell, the heroes are always from our own world. But tonight, our story is different. Tonight, the hero was human. Ethan shook his head slightly. Heroes are just people who do what's right when it matters most. And that's what you did, Princess. Lyra smiled, her eyes bright. Then perhaps we are both heroes. The sun rose higher, casting golden light over Zythera. The city awakened with renewed hope, and the galaxy turned its eyes toward the unlikely alliance between a human soldier and an alien princess. And though the future was uncertain, one truth was clear. The bond between them had been forged in fire, tested in shadows, and strengthened in trust. It would last. No matter what challenges lay ahead,